Macaulay, and I want to welcome you to my studio in Vermont. All my friends and fans of the way things work who live in South Korea, this is for you. It's been 30 years since this book came out, which is pretty remarkable. But it's because of readers and fans like you and around the world that this book is still in print and still being enjoyed, and more to the point, still being updated. People keep inventing things, so of course we have to keep adding things. This is the latest edition of The Way Things Work. This is The Way Things Work Now. And of course it has things in it like flat screen TVs and video controllers and smartphones and touch screens and tablets and all that sort of stuff. Electric cars, all the kinds of things that we've already kind of gotten used to, but aren't perhaps as fully aware of how they work as I think you should be, or we should be. There are two books here, as you can see. There's the Way Things Work Now, and there's The Way Machines Work, or How Machines Work. And the difference between the two books is very simple. This is for a younger audience, and it's more interactive, it's more playful, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. The original Way Things Work is done with, as you know, with paintings, drawings, and flat illustrations. How Machines Work is done with more interactive devices, paper engineering, and things of that nature, which makes it a little more fun. Both books deal with simple machines. The Way Things Work deals with simple machines and all the other kinds of machines. This one just deals with simple machines. And the story is basically about two characters who are trapped in a zoo, two animals, a sloth and a shrew, who are trapped in a zoo, and what they do is they try to use simple machines to help them escape. So, let me show you a little bit about how this works. On the cover, you can see the first example of what I mean by interactive. Here's a little display on the cover of how turning gears can make this lever move up and down, the connector move up and down, the lever move from side to side like that, and the other connector with the point on the bottom can move up and down and break into the aquarium down below. That's just the beginning, that's just the cover. If we go from there to an inside example, an interior example, let me show you another one. Here's a little setup. What we've created here is a part of the zoo, and here's the fence and the railing, and they're going to try to get over it using this lever, or a seesaw, as you might also think of it. And the game that we want you to play here, or we want the readers to play, is taking our characters, and I've already set our characters up. Here they are. They actually live in here most of the time. But if we put one of our characters, let's say we put our sloth, well, you have to figure out where on this lever to put your pressure. So, that's not going to work. Okay, let's try another one. It can take a while, to get this right. Let's try little guy here. Let's try the shrew. Oh, right over the wall, first time almost. Anyway, you can see what this is all about, and you can see how it's also sort of diagrammed. You can see where the arrows, you get an idea of how it all works, but then you can test it with this little thing. Now, this one is about gears, and it's really about the gears that we saw on the front of the cover, but also inside is another little book. Inside the big book is a small book on gears. This is the little book that the shrew found and was able to learn everything he or she needed to know. I don't know whether it's a he or a she. And so with this information, they were able to come up with this device that allowed them to break out of the zoo. They thought they were breaking out of the zoo through the concrete, but in fact they were breaking into the aquarium, which is filled with piranhas, which you do not necessarily want to allow to escape. So there's another example of how we played with the book and how we allow it to become more interactive. The most dramatic way, I suppose, is this one. By the end of the book, our two characters have realized that if they put all the machines together, they may be able to escape. So here's the idea. They use the gears to turn this axle, which has an axe fastened to it. The axe, of course, has a sharp blade on the edge. That's a wedge, basically. And as this turns, this axle winds up the rope, which moves the rope in this direction, close enough to the blade for the blade to cut it. Once this is cut, the pulley, which is holding back this little cart, is released. The cart can fly down the ramp, which is here, and it'll get hurtled off the end of the ramp and crash into the lever, the opposite end of the lever, and hopefully launch our two characters over the wall. And to see whether or not this works, we follow the path by actually creating in fragments another illustration over the first illustration. And here's the rope being cut. Here is the pulley being released. Here's the cart zipping down the incline, the ramp, and jumping off at the end and flying over our characters, who we no longer see, hitting the end of this thing, and they're launched. There we go. They're launched, and they fly over the wall. So it's a fairly complicated little bit of paper engineering, thanks to our brilliant paper engineer, and it was a little bit of a project to get this to work, let me tell you. So there's a little inside look at how machines work. Now, it takes a lot of work to make illustrations like this, and when you're working with nonfiction, it's really important that the illustrations be accurate. I mean, I can't make illustrations that are just playful and just fun. They also have to be accurate. That's the difference between, I think, making nonfiction illustrations and illustrations for a work of fiction. They still all have to be believable, but in a book like this and in a book like this, they also have to be accurate, which is why I'm surrounded here by some of the sketches. I probably 100 times more sketches. And you can see here that it took at least these 4 or 5, and there are more, just to do this fold out at the end. So this is a complicated process, but it's all about getting accuracy into your work. So I hope that's been an interesting little introduction to these 2 books, and I thank you for watching, and I hope we can talk again. Maybe we won't wait 30 years, but you know, whenever you're ready, just give me a shout, and I'll set up my little studio again, and we'll communicate. Thanks a lot.